May I request Professor Bhagwan Chowdhry to come up on stage, please. Bhagwan Chowdhry is a professor of finance at UCLA Anderson School of Management. Professor Chowdhry has also taught at the University of Chicago, University of Illinois at Chicago, the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology, and the Indian School of Business. And I take pleasure in inviting Professor Paul Robert Griffin to be part of the panel discussion. Professor Griffin is an associate professor of information systems. Please come, sir. Director, MITB program at Singapore Management University. Currently, Professor Griffin is in SMU teaching postgraduate and undergraduate students in IT and Fintech. Please be seated, sir. May I also invite Mr. J.A. Chowdhry, Special Chief Secretary and IT Advisor to Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh, to join the panel discussion. Mr. Chowdhry also serves as ex-officio secretary to the government in the Chief Minister's Office of Andhra. Mr. Chowdhry earlier served as chairman of the board of Software Technology Parks of India, Hyderabad and Chennai. He was one of the key personalities who was instrumental in bringing about the IT revolution in Hyderabad. Please welcome to the panel, sir. And Professor Bhagwan Chowdhry, I wish, you start the session, please. Thank you.
Can you hear me from here? Yeah, okay? Yeah, excellent. So this is what I'd like to do. Since we had lunch and we came here, and except for a few people who asked questions, rest of us have been sitting and not talking and doing anything. So why don't all of you stand up and go like this? Okay? Move your hands. Okay, a few legs, like this. Okay, now a couple of deep breaths. And now shout as loud as you can. Go, ah! Okay, welcome to ISB. This session is going to be on fintech, which is a marriage between finance and technology. So just to give you a little background, I went to IIT Kanpur, which was all about technology, which I left, and then I became a professor of finance. And now I've been a professor of finance for 30 years, and I was thinking, what should I do next? And then came fintech, which was a perfect combination of finance and technology. So here we are. Before I give my panelists a chance to talk, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, okay? And you can raise your hand and shout the answer, but it cannot be more than 2 words, okay? So whatever the answer is, it can't be a long one. When you think about technology, what words come to your mind? Raise your hand. I'm going to pick one of you. What? Data science. Yes. Programming. Mobile technology. Yes, that woman in the back. Machine learning. Artificial intelligence. Okay. Sorry? Innovation management. Okay. Okay, all right, blockchain. Okay, very good. Okay, I'm going to say technology is about making stuff easier, okay? Technology is about removing frictions. Technology is about doing stuff that was hard to do and you make it easier, okay? So that's my view of technology. Now let's talk about finance. Finance. What do you think about when you think about finance? What words come to your mind? Money, banking, profit. Sorry, business, profit and loss. Yeah, investing. Matching supply. Okay. Okay, one last one. The man in the pink shirt, yeah? Exchange of value. Okay. The way I think about finance is a way of sharing resources. Okay? So two big parts of finance are that when we are young, we don't have money, we don't have resources. So we take resources from somebody else. And in the middle of our lives, we work really hard and create more resources than we need. And then we put it away so that we can use it again when we are old and we can't work anymore. But that requires other people. You can't do it yourself. So when you're making more money, you give it to somebody else, which is called lending, and then you take it back from them. So that's one part of finance. It's sharing resources across time. The second notion of sharing is sharing resources across different types of things that can happen, which we call insurance, risk sharing. If bad things happen to me, somebody else takes care of me. We have families, we have social institutions, we have many mechanisms by which we can actually share resources. So fintech, to me, is a natural marriage because technology is making it easier to share resources. So with that introduction, I would like to invite Professor Paul Griffin, who is an expert both in finance and information systems and technology. So let's hear his comments, and then we'll come back and have a discussion.
Okay, thank you very much. Hello, well, thank you all for coming today to this event. Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me okay? Good, good. And it's a great pleasure to be invited to the Indian School of Business from SMU. So yes, I come from the School of Information Systems. So I don't think my talk is particularly technical, but forgive me if I do get into any technical areas. Hopefully I've got some slides which will be showing. They're not showing yet. My slides? You see them here, so I'm okay. If you guys all come here and have a look. Okay. Right, good. I know that some people get information better through visuals rather than audio, so I'm one of those people, so I always like to have slides. So, yeah, it's a great introduction on fintech. But fintech is a very wide word. It covers many different things. Its finance is wide, technology is wide. So I thought rather than just go on about fintech in particular, I wanted to sort of focus more on one aspect, so to give you an idea about an area of fintech which is currently undergoing a lot of innovation and a lot of disruptions, and to sort of frame it in a sense of the future of payments. So what do I see of the future of payments? So I'm going to put forward the case that the future of payments is cryptocurrencies. Did anybody here know of cryptocurrencies, bitcoins, ether? Yeah, good, good. Anybody not heard of it? I think probably most. In case you're wondering, I won't be giving you any hints and tips about which coin to buy or which ICO to go after, but we'll come to that a bit later. But first of all, what is cryptocurrency and why is it important, or why do I think it's important? In fact, it's not just these public global cryptocurrencies which you hear so much about, bitcoins, ether, etc. It's also the tokens used on these platforms, which you've probably heard about. That's where the ICOs come from. But also there's some very interesting areas of discussions going on in, say, national cryptocurrencies. Governments around the world are considering what is the value, should they use it, shouldn't they? In Singapore, for about over a year now, there's been a project called Project Ubin, which is looking at how to use cryptocurrencies as a national cryptocurrency. I'll talk more about that a bit later. Also in India, the Reserve Bank of India on the 5th of April made a statement that they're now they've already set up a panel to look at the desirability and feasibility of having a crypto or a virtual Indian currency as well. Corporate cryptocurrencies. I know that I've heard that Citibank uses cryptocurrencies internally, and also companies are creating currencies which people can invest in, called utility tokens. And also independent cryptocurrencies. Even for a couple of years, you can have your own cryptocurrency if you want. You can go online, dial it up, put in the characteristics, and create your own cryptocurrency. So anybody can have a cryptocurrency. But really, the most important point, which I'm going to dwell on, is that they all exist on a decentralized blockchain. You've probably heard the term blockchain as well, but the key word here really is decentralized. So the opposite of decentralized is, of course, centralized. So what do these mean? Well, centralized is what we have most of right now. There's one sort of, if you like, central server which everybody connects up to. Say, for example, a web server. When you open your browsers are connecting up to one web server, feeding information, what you're feeding it to. So that's centralized. There's a gold copy of data in centralized systems. That's the gold copy, that's the source of truth. And also, the centralized server does centralized processing. So again, it's all in one place going on, how it's working. And this implies really a sole ownership. So there's one entity, one organization who owns this data, this processing, and that's what's going on in the majority of companies right now. Whereas with decentralization, it's the opposite. There's no central server now. It's all peer-to-peer, where everybody is as equal to everybody else. People here used BitTorrent. File sharing, this was a big thing a few years ago. They're all peer-to-peer applications. In fact, the internet is a very good example of a decentralized situation. There are no internet servers in one company which does the internet. There's servers everywhere owned by various people, all helping to sort of serve the data up and move the data around. So each node, as they're called in this instance, has a copy of its own data, which is just as good as anybody else's, and is kept in consensus, so everyone's copy of data is the same as everybody else's. The nodes have to discover and communicate with each other, and each node ideally would have the same functionality. So like I said, one person's node in a decentralized system is just as good as somebody else's. So there's no sort of sole ownership. It's a decentralized ownership of the system. So keeping that in mind, what are the kind of pros and cons? Well, with a centralized system, because you own it, then change management, how you change it, how you control it, the policies and procedures are all be decided by yourself. You can limit the access, you can protect how you want people to access the data and the processes, and you can control exactly what processing is going on. Also, I think if you're looking at the performance in a serial processing, then having a centralized system gives you the ability to really optimize that for whatever you want to do. Where some of the pros for the decentralized system, now you've got entities talking to each other, communicating in a decentralized way. You've got the inherent distribution of data, so you're sharing your data across boundaries, across organizational boundaries, and not necessarily now with trusted partners. It's called a trustless system as well, because you don't have to know even who you're communicating with. There may be an increase in reliability because the data is replicated. Scaling can happen very quickly now as new nodes come online and go offline, so you have a big possibility of variation. And of course, you have a reduced cost of ownership if you've got the various nodes owned by different people. So in summary, if you're looking for more control, then your centralized system will give you much better control, where your decentralized system will give you the flexibility to be able to change as the system needs to change. So coming back to payments, how does this actually address what's happening in the payment space? Well, let's look at some of the problems. If there's no problem to solve, then there's no need to do anything. But the problems, one problem we're looking at the moment is in terms of volumes. The number of transactions is increasing significantly. This is the data from World Payments Report, and very soon we'll be hitting something like 1,000 billion non-cash transactions per year. That's a huge amount. And also this is a global phenomenon as well. It's not just in one particular country. The other aspect I'd like to address is the complexity. So at the moment, we have about 164 official national currencies used for payments. But also in the cryptocurrency space, we've got 1,500 cryptocurrencies, and the growth is exponential as well. And in fact, with the digitization of assets, which is happening, and the derivatives which can be based on those assets, effectively the complexity in these value assets or value exchange mechanisms is unlimited. So how does the two models of centralization and decentralization work on these particular problems? First, we look at the volumes. I think for a centralized system, as I say, it's much easier to scale up, but if it's more of the same type of system, so if you've still got a limited number of currencies, as the volumes increase for those, then a centralized system would be a better way forward. You can maintain the performance, you can control risks, you're in control and you're managing that situation. Whereas with decentralization, if the volume variances are changing a lot, and you have new entities coming into the marketplace, coming and leaving, then a decentralized gives you that flexibility to cope with that particular scenario. On the complexity side, it'll be easier to manage and control complexity if that's something you can do with a centralized system. But as we know with any centralized system, the smaller players get overshadowed by the larger ones. If you've got a limited amount of change you can make, then the people with the louder voices get the changes done. Whereas the flexibility of the decentralized system allows for a lot more complexity of the assets in the system and also different sizes of entities to join. So what is the future of payments altogether, putting this all together? I think it's going to be a mixture. I don't think we're going to everyone just join onto the cryptocurrency and decentralized systems. But it's going to be based on various factors. First of all, is the risks involved. If you've got a large transaction going through, which is a high risk, you probably want to have a trusted partner on the other side who you know is going to process it in a particular way. The cost of transaction is another factor. The cryptocurrencies can have a very low cost of transaction around the globe. Trust is necessary. How much trust do you put in the entity? How much trust do you put in a decentralized system? Speed requirement. Again, if you're going to have a big, large volume of processing, you may need to choose between whether you put that into a centralized system or you put it into a decentralized system. And finally, what kind of complexity and the change in complexity do you expect to encounter in the sort of coming years? So to kind of put that into a bit more of a realistic context, I wanted to talk a bit more about Project Ubin. Project Ubin was a project set up by the Monetary Authority of Singapore last year, where they wanted to, the end goal really is to see the feasibility of an electronic Singapore dollar. I was involved in the phase 2A, which was looking at interbank cash settlements. So currently, it's a very nice centralized system. They run a system called MEPS Plus, which does all the interbank settlements for the banks in Singapore. And the project was to see what happens if we decentralize that particular process. So MAS comes out of that sort of ownership of the centralization, and all the banks have to deal with each other decentralized. The POC with 5 banks and 10 transactions, And one of the most interesting parts is we had smart contracts running the liquidity saving mechanism. That's where you have the net settlements. We net out the settlements. So the basic system is a real-time gross settlement system where all the settlements are done in real time. But when there's a case where a bank can't pay, then at the moment, the MAS system will look to see if certain banks pay other banks, then you can break that lock. That can't be done in a decentralized system because there's no central owner. So we had smart contracts running that system. The three platforms used was R3 Corda, Quorum, which is JP Morgan, sort of flavor or fork on the Ethereum, and then IBM Hyperledger Fabric. It was a successful POC. This is all online. But what was interesting was the challenges thrown up. And the first one was the incentivization. When everybody is the same and there's no owner, who's going to actually kick off, say, for example, this liquidity saving mechanism? No bank wants to be the first bank to pay another one expecting to get a payment later. So that incentivization was one aspect. And then also the governance. With a decentralized system, nobody owning it, then how do you do the changes? How do you deal with the issues? When problems arise, who's going to solve it? So the governance was another interesting challenge. So, FinTech. In the university, we have a number of different FinTech research projects going on. We have the macroeconomic policy implications of digital currencies. We're looking at a cryptocurrency index as a benchmark for the overall market. Working with the Swift Institute on algorithmic and process innovations. This Project Ubin research, peer-to-peer lending platforms, ICOs, national currencies. And we also have a research in the insurance space for big data with the Pinnacle initiative. So just to finish off, what is the future of payments? In fact, it's bigger than just cryptocurrencies. Cryptocurrency really is just one use case of decentralization. It's also bigger than just blockchain. Blockchain really is just an implementation or one implementation for decentralization. The big change which is happening, the big paradigm shift, is this movement from centralized systems where you have sole ownership, and you've got to start breaking down the walls and work, as was mentioned earlier, in partnership, globalized partnerships, and put that into code, and the entities, the companies can work together with many different scales of players within the system. So hopefully that's given you some flavor of a particular FinTech juggernaut, change, innovation, disruption mechanism that's coming into the payment space. Thank you. Thank you.
We would like to come back to this, Paul. We have a few questions, but let me introduce our next speaker. Jay Chowdhry is a special chief secretary and an IT advisor to the chief minister of Andhra Pradesh. You know, Chowdhry as a last name has a very interesting stories behind it, because people try and guess. Like, I'm a Chowdhry, he's a Chowdhry. So people always try to guess, oh, Chowdhry, you must be a Bengali. Bengalis always think Chowdhrys are Bengalis. And then Rajasthani says, hey, Chowdhry, you must be a Rajasthani. Or, you know, no. It turns out that Chowdhry is just a title. So Chowdhry exists everywhere. It's like potatoes. We are everywhere.
They are the chowth collectors during the Britishers' time.
That's right, exactly. But you can't have a session in which there are two chiefs. So I'm going to give the title of the chief to J.A., and I will settle on just being Bhagwan. How's that?
Thank you. Bhagwan is much higher than chief. You are several orbits ahead of us. Thank you, Bhagwan, for nice intro, and I really want to thank ISB for giving me this opportunity to come and talk on fintech, though I'm not expert in fintech, but I'll tell you how I landed up in fintech area. When Honorable Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh, Mr. Chandrababu Naidu, when he asked me to come and join the government to promote the IT industry in the new Andhra Pradesh, I thought it's very easy because I did it once in Bangalore and Chennai and Hyderabad, so I can easily do that IT promotion in new Andhra Pradesh. So I happily accepted and joined the government. After joining the government, I realized that it's very difficult to promote the IT industry when IT industry itself is going down because of the automation and so many disruptive changes are happening world over. And wherever I went, all these companies, no, we are slowing down. The net addition, employee addition is actually negative. So right now, there is no need for us to come to your new Andhra Pradesh. Thank you for your opportunities and all that. So I was wondering, what is that I can do? There are only two options for me to. One is to go to Honorable Chief Minister. Sir, I will not be able to take up this challenge and I am resigning. The second option, to take some more time to see whether we can do some innovations in IT promotion. Fortunately, I met some of the bankers in one of the KPMG partners meet I was invited for that dinner meeting. And there I met HSBC Global Delivery Head, Subir Mehra. They have one operations in Visakhapatnam, which is one of our towns in New Andhra Pradesh. I asked him, Subir, why are you not increasing your manpower in Visakhapatnam? He said, Jay, when we started in Visakhapatnam, HSBC operation, it was all BPO, KPO kind of business. Now that business is slowing down. Now, the new business, what we are doing, there is no manpower. There is a huge shortage of manpower. I asked him, what is that kind of manpower that you are looking at? He said, there are 4 technologies that at this point of time, any fintech company is hiring and they are not able to find that manpower. I asked him, what are those 4 technologies? All the fintech companies are worried about the security. So cyber security is the paramount important for the banks. The second one, as Professor was mentioning about the blockchain technology. Blockchain technology is another technology which is very, very relevant that all the companies, banks particularly, they are trying to understand how blockchain is going to be useful for the fintech industry. The third one, what he said is robo-advisory services. That means artificial intelligence and machine learning. This also is going to become very, very important. And the last one, we generate so much of data and our officers have to analyze which customer, which prospective customer is likely to need a particular personal loan or the wedding is happening in his home and how well we can actually meet that gentleman and provide some incentive-based loans. So for that, we need to have a lot of analytics, big data analytics. So these are the 4 technologies. Unfortunately, I am not getting that kind of a manpower, not only in your state, but across the country. That is the main problem. Then I asked him, suppose what happens if we create that critical manpower for you? Can you, start enhancing your manpower in Vising? He said, yes, why not? Because that is the thing that we are looking for. That's how we landed up creating a Fintech Valley in Vising. And after choosing the Fintech Valley, it's about 2 years back. In the last 2 years, recently, one World Bank survey, they surveyed on what are the emerging fintech destinations across the world. They rated Fintech Valley Vising as one of the top 5 fintech emerging destinations. The survey was not done by us. So I'll tell you the story, how in the last 2 years we were able to reach that level. So we used, as many of you are aware, you know the famous Kurukshetra war. Bhagwan was helping the Pandavas, Bhagwan Krishna. The Pandavas were 5 people, whereas Kauravas were 100, and they had a lot of army. But in spite of that, they were able to win that war. with the help of Lord Bhagwan Krishna. So I thought, we will also, in this kind of a disruptive era, if we are to win this war, we need that Pancha Pandavas, and of course, fortunately we have Lord Krishna in the form of our Chief Minister, Mr. Chandrababu Naidu. We thought, let us create that Pancha Pandavas to win this disruptive war in creating the new industry. That's when we identified a 5M ecosystem. That was our Pancha Pandavas, and that's really helping at this point of time the Fintech Valley Vizag to get this kind of a reputation. And companies like Franklin Templeton, Paytm, Conduent, they're already operating out of our Fintech Valley. In addition to that, large number of startup companies from Singapore, from Europe, from USA, they're all establishing their startup in Fintech Valley Vizag. I'll tell you what is this 5M model. The 5M, first M is manpower. As I was mentioning about Subir Mehra's request on the manpower, unless there is a manpower, this industry cannot grow. So we decided to set up the Institution of Excellence in the digital technologies called IIDT, similar to IIIT what we had created those times in Hyderabad. So we created IIDT, through which we are able to create deep digital manpower in all these 4 technologies of expertise. Right now, we have 2 schools of excellence. One is on the cyber security, the other one is on the big data analytics. And in addition to that, we created fintech academies with global fintech industries like Broadridge Financials, HSBC, Visa, MasterCard, Thomson Reuters, all these big companies, fintech companies, they came to our help in associating with some of the local universities to set up the fintech academies. In fact, Geetham University, they actually started one MBA fintech, and those graduates are actually graduating now. So through that, the another source of manpower was getting created for the fintech industry. The third one, what we have done, I'll just take the water. The third one was most interesting than the first 2. As some of the previous panelists were telling about the quality of education in India, what we noticed when we ran the blockchain technology student hackathon, it was the world's largest student hackathon for the blockchain technologies. We thought initially how the students in third year engineering, that too ordinary engineering schools in the rural areas, how first of all they will learn what is blockchain and how they can use the blockchain for the hackathon. But we were surprised to see there were more than 5,000 students participated in that blockchain technology hackathon. Out of those, one third year engineering student in one of the engineering colleges, very ordinary engineering college called KITS in Guntur, whatever the problem he has chosen and the solution that he has provided, he got an offer to buy him out at 50 lakhs of rupees. We were surprised to see, and he refused. Normally, any student in third engineering college, when he is getting 50 lakhs of rupees, normally they will immediately take that money and enjoy whatever he can. But this student, he said, no, I don't want to sell this idea and solution, and I want to become an entrepreneur. Right now, he is in US with some student exchange program. And what we noticed, the people who were selected in the final for the blockchain technology student hackathon, all of them got excellent jobs. That's when we thought, see, there's no point in just telling that colleges are not good, faculty is not good, this is not good, AICT, there is a problems and all that. If only we encourage the students to participate in this student hackathons, they will figure out how to learn and how to provide a solution. So the other one, recently we concluded one another hackathon on the cyber security. It was called Cyberthon. Nearly 1,600 students, particularly during the examination time, most of the students, they don't participate in such events. In spite of the examination period, that many students participated, and there were 15 cybersecurity companies who helped in the Cyberthon, And in fact, the people who got selected, the final about 41 teams, they all, actually we had a ethical hacking, the final competition. In that competition, we came to know what all the website, what are the databases where there are vulnerabilities, where there are problems with our digital assets in the AP government. We of course gave all the details to our e-Pragati team. They are working on how to fix those problems. So what we noticed is ordinary students, they were able to understand what is cybersecurity is all about. They were able to do the ethical hacking, find out all the issues with our digital systems and all that, this thing. And many of them are going to get these jobs. So the third experiment is the one now we are going to do it every month. We are doing this hackathons on a continuous basis. So the first M, the manpower, we are addressing in the 5M model. The second M is the money. What we have done is we requested our Honorable Chief Minister to create a 500 crore fintech follow-on fund. Already this budget we got the approval for 100 crores and we are now partnering with other ICICI Ventures and other people who are going to create a 500 crore fund. That's going to be follow-up funding for the startup companies who are going to come. Like in Mahabharat, the middle one, Madhyama, who led the Kurukshetra war to victory. Who was that? Arjuna, right? He was also called Madhyama, the middleman. Here also, our hero, who is going to win this disruptive technology war, is the market access. In fact, I keep telling this example. When we had a company called Portal Player, we raised about $80 million venture fund. And we had a great technology, great silicon chip, and great teams in USA and India. We thought that for consumer electronics, Japan is the market. Whatever money we had, happily we were spending on going to Japan, Taiwan, and thinking that there was customers from those countries. We were getting a lot of design wins. But whatever money that we raised, almost we were about to close the company. Thanks to Steve Jobs, he called us, it seems you got a technology, why don't you come and give a demonstration. That's how Apple iPod came into existence. But why I'm telling this story, though we had $80 million venture fund, though we had great teams, great product, the company was about to die. Why? Because there was no market, there is no business, right? So market access is going to be paramount important for any startup company across the globe. Realizing their importance, we engaged KPMG to create India's, maybe Asia's largest fintech use case repository. Right now we have about more than 200 use cases, and these use cases are growing. There are active problems of these companies. For example, ICICI Bank, they want to go into the digital banking. What are the issues? Whether the blockchain issues are there, other artificial intelligence issues, or analytics related problems. So these problems KPMG has collected, and those problems are now in the use case repository. In fact, recently, the Thai president in Chicago, he ran using our use case repository a business plan competition in Chicago area. About 45 companies got selected in that challenge competition using our use case repository. Most of these 45 companies, what Bala was telling, that all of them are interested in locating to Fintech Valley Vizag. Locating means we are telling about 80-20 model. 80% of the manpower, they can still be there where they are. At least 20% of the activities, they can have it in Fintech Valley Vizag. So this is also creating a lot of importance coming to, creating that ecosystem for the Fintech Valley Vizag. That's why the middle M is very, very important. That's the market access. In addition to the whatever the 200 use cases from 20-30 different corporate partners, our own use cases, AP government use cases, because the way we are implementing digital technology in every aspect in Andhra Pradesh, that itself is going to create a lot of opportunities for startups. So that also now we are adding into the use case repository. So middle M is very important. Then the fourth M is also equally important. The fourth M is the mentoring, particularly when government becomes the customer. For any startup to meet a principal secretary or a secretary or head of the department in the government, or ICICI Bank digital banking head, it's very difficult for the startup companies to go and approach them. So that's where we created a mentoring mechanism. Whoever comes to Fintech Valley, we make sure that that startup company will get audience with the decision makers, whether they are in the government or whether they are in the fintech industry or whether they are with the Indian banks who are moving from conventional bank to the fintech digital banking area. So that's also helping a lot. The fourth M is also equally important. Then the last M is the meetup events. Meetup events, why it's important is, for example, Hyderabad, thanks to ISB for organizing this kind of meetup events every now and then, where startup companies can come and meet all the decision makers, listen to what's all happening. That's very, very important for any startup ecosystem to understand what's happening, to also meet some of the decision makers so that they can go and explain to them what idea they have, what product they have. It's easy for them. Otherwise, for them, all the way going to Bombay, going to Chicago, to find out some new customer is very, very difficult with the money what they raise in the startup ecosystem. So that's the reason why in Fintech Valley, Vizag, we decided to have every month one event. Recently, we had the cybersecurity conference. Before that, we had cybersecurity student hackathon. Before that, we had a blockchain conference. So now, the next month, we are going to have the India's largest data hackathon, student hackathon. In fact, what we are doing this time, we are giving the government's live data, anonymize this data. We are now two aspects. One, we are giving to the students to do the student hackathon. The other one, we are giving to the startups across the globe to do different data models, different prescriptive, predictive analytics, what all they can do with that live data. So that's going to be made available. End of this challenges and the data hackathons, we are going to have the data science conference. So like that, I mean, we are going to have every month one event either related to data, related to cybersecurity, related to blockchain technology, related to artificial intelligence and ML. These are the four technologies. So we are going to repeat these meetup events. So this 5M model is really helping the Fintech Valley Vizag. And we are very happy to see that in the last 2 years, the kind of companies we are looking at, because we are pretty focused on what we are planning to do. We are pretty focused on, we are very serious about creating the deep digital manpower. We are also announced a $1 million Startup Challenge Award, Fintech Challenge Award, where we are going to run this business plan competitions across the 7 Fintech destinations across the globe. Whoever wins, they will get the $1 million as a grant. And we are going to have the Vizag Fintech Festival in the month of September. All these companies who are shortlisted, they will all come to the Fintech Festival at Visakhapatnam during the September, where there will be final demo day. And that's also creating a lot of hype, lot of buzz around the entire globe, wherever the fintech startup industry is located. So this way, I mean, whatever we have seen, the innovative, disruptive models have to be identified, even to promote the IT industry. That's what we have successfully done. I'm very, very thankful to ISB for giving us the opportunity to come and tell what we are doing. And if there are any startup companies here, particularly who wants to participate in the $1 million challenge, we welcome them, and we welcome all of them to Fintech Valley Vizag. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chowdhry. How much time do we have for this session? 20 minutes, okay. So I'm going to jump straight into audience questions, and you can ask a question, but here are the rules, okay? And you must follow the rules, because if you don't follow the rules, I'm going to disqualify your question, okay? Your first statement should be a question, should end with a question mark, okay? And there should be no second statement, okay? So I'm going to moderate it. Please raise your hand, and I may rephrase your question or repeat it just to make it clear to everyone and to our panelists. Okay. Gentleman over there.
Yeah. Mr. Chowdhry.
Which one?
Yeah, not the Bhagwan. I respect the Bhagwan not to ask a question to him. So, I want to know about the cyber security. There is a huge scare everywhere. They say don't use your debit cards, don't often use your credit cards in online transactions. What do we do really as a common man?
Okay. Go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, it's a very important thing which is happening in this country, particularly common man. On one side, we are pushing the digital payments. I mean, don't use the cash. Everybody has got a bank account. They're operating the mobile bank account. It's a really problem for many, particularly people who are living in the rural sector. Definitely, it's a big problem for them. So what we are trying to do is, we're trying to come with a new service called security as a service. We're trying to get all the best cyber security companies, whether they are endpoint security, data security, server level security. We negotiate the prices with them, and those prices, I mean, we will make it public to all our citizens across the AP. Otherwise, they will not be able to this thing. And some areas, rural areas, even government is thinking at this point of time to subsidize for 1 or 2 years to promote that kind of, to protect the interest of the common man, so that they don't lose because of somebody hacking into their digital assets, particularly whatever the bank accounts and all that. It's a big issue. That's one. Second one is we want to launch a big awareness campaign. A lot of people, they don't know, how to create this password, how to change the password, all these things they don't know. Even simple things also, even urban areas, a lot of people actually they are losing money because they don't know how to this thing. So awareness is a very big this thing, that also we want to create a big awareness campaign for that.
Okay, let me get to Paul, because I think this issue, in fact, can be addressed by blockchain, and there are a number of applications of blockchain which are addressing this very issue of security and identity. Would you like to comment on that?
Yep, sure. Well, first of all, I'd just like to make a point about security. I think one of the trends which is happening as there's more technology which people are using, people have to step up their own personal game. It's really good to hear that about the security awareness, particularly with something like blockchain, or take cryptocurrencies, or if you've got bitcoins. If you lose your keys to your wallet, your money's gone. So it's not just about kind of password strength, it's about an awareness that everybody needs to own their digital assets just as much as you have keys for your car. You don't kind of leave them lying around. You take care of it. You also need to take care of your own digital assets and your own personal security. That's one thing I want to get off my chest, yeah. But on the other side, yes, there are a lot of identity applications coming along. Microsoft, governments are looking at this. And blockchain is quite kind of, I would say, unique actually, in the sense that you can code up security within the blockchain so that no humans have to touch the data anymore. So people are starting to put this out into organizations. At the moment, you've got go back to centralized system, you've got a server, you've got a system admin person who looks after the server, and that person's like a god. They can see all the data.
If the server is hacked, you're done. But with decentralization, you're saying that you have to hack all of them, and that makes it...
Well, that's one aspect. There's one aspect of you'd have to hack all the servers or take over to such an extent that you can damage the whole network, which is very difficult. But the second point is that instead of having a human who controls everything on one server, you can code it up into the smart contracts to do the administration work. So when somebody changes their password, for example, keep it simple, instead of a person, if you like, typing in and then saving it in a database, the smart contract takes the data which has been encrypted as soon as a person types it in and stores it encrypted and can administer that password automatically. So that risk of a human being compromised, which is one of the bigger risks in security as well, is people, sort of bad actors, bad people actually getting access to systems. Even if you have bad people, the systems are protected by the code which has been written.
So there are a lot of innovations here going on. And,
just want to add.
Yeah, please go ahead.
What Professor said is absolutely right. That's the reason why AP government has announced that all the digital assets in the state of Andhra Pradesh will be blockchained by the end of 2019. This year itself, about 4 departments.
Did you say 2018?
2019, end of 2019.
Okay.
So all
That's very aggressive.
Yes.
Yeah.
This year itself, 4 departments we are pursuing to complete the blockchaining them. For example, land records is one, transport department another one, university records, the university certificates and all that, we want to put them on the blockchain. So like that, I mean, we want to really make sure wherever blockchain is applicable, we want to put that blockchain cover in that this thing. Yeah.
Okay, let's go back to the audience. Let me see. Yes, the gentleman with the zebra T-shirt.
Hello. So, why are the governments reluctant to legalize cryptocurrencies?
Okay, who wants to take this? You? No, you.
Since I have a government hat, but so this aspect, I mean, is a federal government issue. State, we don't have any say in those things, RBI and Ministry of Finance.
But wait a second, you can certainly pressure them though.
Yeah, so the cryptocurrency is a speculative currency. That's the reason why, I mean, for common people to get into the speculative mode of this thing, I mean, that's one of the reasons why they do not want to encourage the whatever the bitcoins and all that. On the contrary.
So sorry, Mr. Chowdhry, I can't let you get away with this. So is gold. Gold is speculative too, but we don't say don't trade in gold. I mean, a lot of things are. Indians are known to trade in speculative.
Any speculation is not good. Some of the people will get caught unaware. If they are not, for example, some people in the villages, the stock market, they lose a lot of money because they don't know the cycles, when to invest, when to get out and all that.
But you have not banned stock market investing.
Yeah, anyway, that's a good question. Anyway, we'll put some pressure on RBI. But I want to tell you, we have some self-help groups called Dwakra Women Group. We want to see it. Earlier they were using the cash as the mode of transaction. When we pushed this digital payments, they're also getting worried about the cyber security issues. We're thinking about creating a non-speculative cryptocurrency for them, crypto tokens, so that they exchange the crypto tokens among the member. Whenever they want to exchange that token to fiat currency, there will be a gateway where this non-speculative cryptocurrency, they can actually get the rupee kind of a thing. This we are thinking about it. Maybe we will implement that soon.
So there'll be a risk management on top of the speculation.
Correct.
That can
in addition to
help
that,
some people, but you can spread that risk on to the markets. So
no, sir. I
No,
would
no,
like
no.
to.
Okay,
I would
wait.
like to add to that. Actually, Reserve Bank of India is launching Lakshmi coin, a Bitcoin kind of thing, is launching very soon. They are not hesitating. They have
been telling.
Okay.
No, it's already the pipeline. We are experimenting. I am from that place only. I am from Insurance Regulatory Development Authority.
You're disqualified because you just made a statement and not a question.
No, I am adding to that. I am adding
Okay,
to that
please.
because
I'm going to go ahead and
No,
give
I'm-
this gentleman
I'm
a
adding to
chance.
that,
No,
sir.
thank you. I appreciate it. The person in the red shirt. Okay, wait. Let me go to him first. Yeah.
Can fintech and blockchain can put an end to the parallel economy which is going on par with the formal economy?
Can fintech and blockchain give an end to the formal economy as we know it, Paul?
Formal economy.
Parallel economy?
Parallel economy.
Parallel economy.
Yeah.
Parallel economy.
Parallel economy.
I thought you said formal. Okay,
Parallel economy. Sorry, parallel what?
Black market economy. I think.
Black Let me read the
black question.
He's using a euphemism, but what he means
Oh,
is.
you mean I don't think you're ever going to get rid of the black market. If whatever controls you put in place with technology, there's always somebody smart enough to create some other technology which goes around that.
So there's a theorem which says as long as there are constraints, there will be a way to get around this. So as long as there are regulators, there will be a black market.
Valid point.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
Okay, let's go to a gentleman in the pink, yellow shirt. Yes.
Yeah, so this is for the Bhagwan and the Chowdrys as well as Professor from Singapore. Are we bringing in reservation through the back door in the financial sector when we say that we should not have blockchain dictate the term?
It should not have a lot of what?
Are we bringing in reservation of a different type when we say that we want to protect our people from, say, scams in the stock market, It's after all finally a knowledge-driven story, and unless and until you know the particular domain, you cannot be bringing in a Bitcoin or you can't be using this technology. How do you intend to protect some people who don't have the knowledge but want to get into that entire area and want to do it for the sake of doing it? So they need to take the downside risk as well. Why should the government take, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Are we reserving a certain sector from the risk for a set of people who would like to be operating in that
No, a lot of discussions are happening at this point of time. As he was telling that Lakshmi coin discussions are also happening. So at this point of time, I am not privy to those discussions because I am not from the central government. So I can't comment upon it.
Well,
Okay.
I see more sort of accessibility. If it's not very easy to access, and as you say, people take the upside and the downside, it's their own risk. I had friends who invested in Bitcoin when Mt. Gox blew up in Japan, and they lost tens of thousands of dollars, but they just shrugged and said, well, it's a new technology, I'm playing around. But when it becomes more accessible, more available, then then it has to be regulated so that the less sophisticated, if you like, less sophisticated investors don't get scammed in the ways that is easy to do.
Okay, are there any other questions? Yes. Just wait for the mic because we can't hear you. Yeah. We still can't hear you.
Hello.
Yeah.
See, in the name of disruptions or creative innovations, what we have put up a large retail chains like Tesla, Amazon, Flipkart, whatever it may be, they are continuing to burn the money but never turning into profits. Do you think that really this kind of innovative techniques are sustainable in the long run? How long we can keep on burning the money
so
when they are not?
His question is, how can we have the Flipkarts of the world which are burning money and not making any profits? Why do you care? As long as there are VCs who are willing to fund this,
Yes.
obviously they see a long-term potential in it. Go ahead and use it. So Uber is burning money. What do you care? Uber is giving me cheap fares today. So VCs are subsidizing your transportation costs. Why not take it?
How long they can succeed?
It's their
will
problem.
reach a point where
That's
they
how
will-
capitalism works. That's how capitalism works. So okay. Other questions. Sorry.
How does
The question-
blockchain help in
are
reducing
you?
the
I can't
financial
see you.
frauds in the Indian banking system?
How does blockchain help the Indian banking system?
In solving
I
the
think-
banking frauds.
I think banks are actually worried about blockchain. I think they are worried that the new systems are going to take market share away from them. So their view is that they better adapt or else they will be obsolete. So I think that's what happened. 2 years ago, nobody wanted to touch blockchain, but now that fintech is coming in, all banks are at least beginning to experiment with it. So I think, Paul, would you like to add?
Yeah. I mean, the key thing is the customer. I mean, I was thinking earlier, I mean, the whole purpose of the business is to serve customers. And a customer doesn't care whether it's a bank serving them or a fintech startup. Well, there's some level of trust and reputation, but if they're getting served better by a startup than a bank, they'll go to a startup. If the bank's serving them better by using blockchain or by not using blockchain, again, do they really care? Blockchain's an enabler to give customers a better service, and whoever does that will be the winner.
Okay, our time is up, so we are going to stop here, and please give a really big round of applause to our wonderful speakers.
Thank you for a very engaging and informative session. And good luck, Jay, with all the proactive initiatives at Andhra. Yeah. May I request Professor to come and give away the mementos to the panelists, please?
So I have two questions while we are doing this. If somebody wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way of doing that?
I'll give my email address.
Email address. Okay, please note it down.
jchowdry@gmail.com. The other one, jachowdary.
jchowdry@gmail.com. How cool is that he's giving his email, Isn't that great? And Paul, if somebody wants to get in touch with you, we are academics, it's easy.
Google Paul Griffin, SMU. If you just Google Paul Griffin, you'll get baseball
Just
players
Google
and chemistry.
Paul
Griffin, SMU.
Griffin, SMU, and you will get it. And Bhagwan is everywhere, so it's easy to get in touch.